It could be slightly funny, but you don't just circle it and move on. Here's what we do instead. Our goal when we find x is to get x by itself and have a number on the other side. Here's your first intro into it. Draw a line down the equal sign for your first step every time. You have an equal sign, you're going to draw a line to separate one side from the other. I'm then going to start with the side with the variable. X is on the left side this time, and it's adding 7 to it. So on the left side, I have an x plus 7. In my head, I think, what's the inverse of adding 7? What's the opposite of adding a 7? Henry.
Subtraction.
So watch what I do. On the left side, since I want to get x by itself, I can legally put a minus 7 here. I know it's going to get a 0. X would be by itself. I then move to the right side. I do the same thing. Since I subtracted 7 on the left, I have to subtract 7 on the right. You're then going to cross out 7 minus 7, since that equals, whole class, 7 minus 7 is 0. Cross it out. X is by itself. Put an equal sign. The last step is to combine these two bad guys. This is a negative 5 minus a 7. When you do equation work, we stack them, but you can also think about it just like a subtraction problem. What is negative 5 minus 7? Cody.
2.
That would be 2, good guy or bad guy?
13.
You change your mind, 13? Good guy or bad guy?
Bad guy.
Okay. Agree with that, silent yes. Disagree, silent no. Kinley, what'd you get?
I got, 12.
Good guy or bad guy?
Good guy, because they're both bad guys, so we band them together.
Okay. Bad guy bands. There's a good guy, 12. Other options, Judah?
Bad guy 12.
Negative 12, negative 13, and positive 12 are our answers. Let's vote. 1 for A, 2 for B, 3 for C. What answer did you get? Show me. 1, A, 2, B, 3, C. Hands down. Your answer should be 5 and 7 are bad, so you're thinking of banding. The bad guy's banned, and it becomes a bigger bad guy. C is your answer. Circle C.
Yes.
Remember when
Same good, different
when
bad.
we're adding and subtracting, we use good guy versus bad guy. When we multiply, we use sin. Good blender to make early on so we can be precise. Okay, there is your quick intro. If that makes your brain kind of fuzzy, that's okay. This is brand new for a lot of us. Let's go through the first 4 steps, and then we're going to get some slower pace and some more visuals for us. When I say to isolate variables, this is what I mean. To solve equations, we isolate to figure out what that variable is. Isolate goes here. This is why, okay. I forgot to start with this, huh? I forgot to start with this, and it's...
When are we going to use this in the real world?
You're supposed to ask me that today.
What?
You're supposed to ask me that today.
I was supposed to.
I know.
How about,
Okay, track the word. Quick update on 6/7 things. Off task, wearing a hat or hood, talking without a raised hand, unprofessional negative, laughing after students given a consequence. Off task is our focus for today. If you're just sitting there and you don't have board of paper, if it doesn't look like my board, you will likely be sent out of the class to watch a video. If you don't have it from the video in another classroom, when you get back to my class for pack up, you'll be in here for recess tomorrow, possibly lunch, then we'll have a phone call home. It is not a norm. It is not a habit to sit there and have not incomplete notes. Your notes should be complete. I have them on the board. If they're on the board, they should be on your paper. If you get that, give me a thumb up. A lot of us are doing a great job at that. A few of us are going to fix that blunder and get back on track. Hands down. Aiden, talk to me about that at the end of class. Ask me with 5 minutes to go at 1:15. 2:15. Okay, first blink says isolate. That's our first step. Isolate just means to place by itself. So when you're solving an equation, you're always trying to isolate the variable.
that twice.
In order to isolate the variable, you undo everything that's been done to this variable by using inverse operations. Last fancy word for the day. When you solve equations, we maintain equivalency. That just means make the sides equal. To maintain equivalency, draw an arrow up to this word so you're not killing your hands more than you need to. To maintain equivalency, whatever you do to one side, you have to do. Let's cut off.
You mess up.
Do to the other. To maintain equivalency, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other sides. If you're maintaining equivalency, if I add 7 to one side, you have to add 7 to the other side. Next page. First example, I'm going to show you a visual, kind of like good guys and bad guys here. If it makes sense, use it in your homework. Sure, use it on your test. Sure, our goal is to get fluent with equations, so we're using this type of work. You won't always be able to use algebra tiles. Sean, you ready? Let's do it. On the top of example 1, you should put a open circle. This means a good guy or positive. Then you're going to put a closed circle. This means a negative. And then we're going to draw what this problem is asking us to do. On the left side, there's a g, so put the g as a variable. Also on the left side is how many bad guys? Kinley?
Well, 8.
There's 8 bad guys. One of them is a g, is a good guy, but we're just going to leave that g there. Draw 8 bad guys by doing an open or closed circle, Dublin. What would look like a bad guy? Open is what?
The 8 would be the bad guy.
And that's a dark circle, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 bad guys. You just drew g minus 8. To draw a 5 on the right, what would it look like, Hunter? How many dots do I need and what color would they be? 5 open circles on the right. Go ahead and draw that now. Line down the middle, left and right. Okay, so this is your problem. It looks pretty, and it looks like a dot. On here, dots over here. When you're trying to get the g by itself, and I have 8 bad guys, I can legally add 8 good guys to the left side.
What if you illegally?
Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add 8 guys to this side. Whatever I do to one side, though, I have to do to the other. If I do it to this side, I have to do it to the other side. So if I added 8 over to the left, I'm going to add 8 to the right. I just added 8. That was the inverse, and now we're going to see if we get g by itself. Here's a bad guy, here's a good guy. They fight, they die. Here's a bad guy, here's a good guy. Our goal is to get g by itself. Let's see if we did it. What's left on the left side, silent hand? Sean.
Wait, on the left side?
Yeah.
Nothing.
There's one thing that's not crossed out, the g. That was our whole goal, is to get g by itself. We just did it. Put the g down below and put equals. So g equals something. What's left over on the right side? Jenica. 13, good. Should be the answer. G equals 13, circle it. You counted it up and you have your answer. If that works for you, use the good guys and bad guys for today and tomorrow. If it doesn't and it just makes you more confused, here's the work I need. Start over here. This is the equation work that is going to be crucial for the rest of your math lives. Draw a line down from the equal sign every time you see an equation, and you're going to search for the variable. Is the variable on the left or the right side? Hunter. Where's the g? The left side. I'm going to start there. What is happening to the variable on the 8, Judah? Is it adding or subtracting 8?
You put subtracting it.
G minus 8 is currently happening. So I'm thinking in my head, what's the inverse of minusing an 8? What's the opposite of subtracting an 8? Judah?
Adding an 8.
Go ahead and add it. The opposite of subtracting an 8. I always do the inverse, so I can get G by itself. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side. Add 8 to both sides. Once you have that done, you're going to simplify the left. Negative 8 plus 8. That's just a 0. And G is left by itself. Then you have 5 plus 8. On the right side, that's 13. Is that the same thing we got with algebra tiles?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. This is the work I should see on homework. It's the work I should see on independent work.
Yes,
if you can do this in your head, that's great. The point of today is not to get you to do this mentally. The point of today is to build foundations that will come into play in 8th grade. In 8th grade, you will have 6, 7, or 8-step equations with multiple rational numbers. If you don't have this step down, it will be pretty tricky later on. Henry.
Can I please go to the restroom?
Yes, sign out. Can you wait 5 minutes, Henry?
Yeah.
Can you wait 5 minutes? After notes? Okay. Otherwise, it'll be bronze. Example 2. The first thing you should do is draw a line down the equal sign. Find the equal sign. Draw a line. You're looking at h plus 15. Look at the variable and think what's the opposite of what's happening to it. If I'm adding 15, what's the inverse of adding a 15?
Minus.
What's the inverse of adding a 15? I'll take a hand. Kinley?
Minus 15.
Good. On the left side, I do minus 15. On the right side, I do the same thing. To get rid of the 15 on the left, the opposite of adding is subtracting. Cross it out. Draw your next step.
I didn't know we were there.
What's left on the left side? What's by itself, Ashton?
H.
And h is by itself. On the right side, you have 12 minus 15. If writing it stacked kind of confuses you, just use Scratchwork and write it left to right. Sean, track the boards. You then have 12 finding a 15 bad guy. Good versus bad. What's the answer for this one, Hunter? Good. 12 minus 15 is negative 3. That's your answer. Next problem, use inverse operations to solve. You have 12 equals x plus 34. What's the difference between example 3 and example 1 and 2? Get ready to talk to your partner. If you have an answer for them, give me a thumb up. What's the difference between example 3 and 1 and 2? Flip back to 2 or 1. Find a difference. I'll put it on the board. Odds you're starting. Look at your new number. If you're an odd, your voice is on first. Go. 20 seconds.
Variables on the other side, so right side and left side. But it's still the exact same problem.
Right side. Right side.
Was there an arrow or whatever that is?
It's a little different. It's like off to the left. What do you think, Ashton?
This is so easy, except
It's like flipped.
I'm not
Yeah.
excited for this, but
3, 2, 1. What do you notice, silent hands? Slight difference, Jenica? Yep.
It's on the right side instead of the left.
Sean talking 1. If the variable's on the right side, you're not going to do anything different step by step, but you will start somewhere different. We always start where the variable is, draw the line down the middle of the equal sign, and look to the right. The x is adding a 34, so I'm going to start there. What's the opposite of adding 34, Nathan? The inverse of adding would be? Good. So on the right side, I subtract 34. On the left side, what do I do, Sean?
you subtract 34.
Same thing. Beautiful. What's left over on the right side, Aiden? When I cross out 34 minus 34, what's left over?
34. X is what I'm
Bring the x down. Put an equal sign. On the left side, you have 12 minus 34. Let's do good versus bad. What's 12 minus 34? 34 taking away 12. Ashton?
Negative 22.
22 and bad guys win. It should be negative. When you get negative 22 equals x, this is the same thing as what we've been doing. I'll give you full credit for this on your test. It means x equals negative 22, but you can always list the variable first, keep the sign the same. It means the same thing. Mathematicians are almost always going to flip it and list variables first, so know that this and that are equivalent. Same thing, just looks flipped. Go ahead.
You Dad, Joe?
Last example of the day. You have one that looks kind of funky on this side. Example 4 is g minus a negative 2 equals negative 5. What looks weird about the left side of this problem, Sean?
There's a negative.
Yeah, you're on the right track. Keep going.
There's like a negative sign.
And we call that a not. If I'm not going to the store, Sean.
The
I-
negatives can stand.
Yeah, and they make just a giant plus. If you have anything that you can simplify before you do inverse operations, simplify it. G plus 2 is really what's happening. Now I'm thinking to myself, what's the inverse of adding a 2? Hannah, what would I do on the left side?
You would add you'd subtract the 2.
Good, beautiful. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. That's what it should look like. Simplify the left side for me, Juliet. What's left over?
On the left side?
Uh-huh.
G.
Great, and that's the goal. I want g by itself. The right side is negative 5 minus 2. Tristan, what would that be if they band together? Band together a negative 5 and a negative 2. Good. Is it a good guy or a bad guy? Good guy? Okay. Agree, silent yes. Disagree, silent no. Cool. A lot of us agree. One of us disagrees. Judah, what do you disagree with?
Well, I mean, there's a negative 5 and there's a negative 2, and they band together, so it's a negative 5.
Beautiful. If I have two bad guys, they're not magically ever going to become good unless you multiply. When we add and subtract, always band together and just keep it that same sign. Bad guys band to be a bad guy. G equals negative 7 is your answer. Next page, please. You have 7 minutes to work with your partner on this. I'm going to do the first one with you so I give you an idea of what to look for on your partner's work. You should always start by drawing a line down the middle. You should go to the variable side and show me what you do. And show scratch work when you need to, like that.